Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now on with the show.
Welcome to 221B Baker Street by way of the Southgate Bridge. I am Sherlock Holmes. This is my colleague, Dr. Watson. Actually, I am your host, Zachary Hare, and while she is not Watson, she is the Watson to my Holmes, Kristen Deere.
Hi.
Alright, we are talking about the Season 3 episode, For All You Know. Now, this wasn't much in the way of investigation, well, deductions, I should say, but I think, as with a lot of elementary shows, it delves into some interesting aspects of the character.
Yes.
That's what this show...
It was very good on that
yes.
front.
That's what this show does. Even if it has... I've never had an episode I hated, ever. I mean, there's of course, there's a wide range of how much I like them, but if they have an episode that's not heavy on the case, it's always good character introductions. You always get one or the other with this show.
Right.
And so we see here... Well, first we get Watson and the artist who somehow no one's ever heard her music, and yet they stole her tune.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, you don't perform at shows. You perform you record your songs by yourself. Are you an artist or just someone who plays the guitar as a hobby?
Yeah, that's kind of what it sounded like. They stole my tune.
No one's ever heard my music. It's like, okay. Also, I know this is just the first part, but I've always wondered about that, because it's really hard to, because if you're just playing chords, it's not exactly a copyright thing.
Right.
It's like, did you hear, that, I forget his name, that singer who's the Stay With Me guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he recently had to pay Tom Petty a royalty because the song sounds the tune sounds vaguely like I Won't Back Down.
Oh no. Really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that one.
Yeah. And I can kind of hear it. It reminds me of a lot when someone said,
yeah, now that you say it, I'm thinking of the two tunes, and I can... And
also, Lady Gaga, of course, like Madonna said, well, I don't know if Madonna herself said, but people are saying some of her songs were knockoff Madonna, it wasn't even. But back to the case. So, from there, and the second I saw the pots and pans, I said Salvador Dali before anyone said anything.
He's my favorite artist too. So
I knew that about him, that he would like hold a pan in his hand for when he was feeling sleepy, and so it would wake him up, so he'd always be drawing.
Yeah, but also I like how Watson she goes on earlier about how she kind of likes the noise, but then when she's with a client, the tune changes. But it's almost like she likes having that annoyance. She likes having something to argue with Sherlock about.
Well, it reminds me of a couple of things. Like there was a TV show, Red Dwarf, where he's like the only person he spends time with is the guy that drove him nuts, and he's like, why is he the one that was decided to spend time with? And it said that he would go insane with his friends, but an adversary would keep him sane and focused.
Yeah.
So Holmes gets called down to the station, and well, it's interesting that because the cop is played by. He was the assistant DA in one of the first seasons of Law and Order.
Oh, is that where I've seen him?
Well, did you ever watch... There's a couple of things you might have seen. Did you ever watch Firefly?
Yes.
He was Jubal. That's Jubal Early.
Oh, okay. That's more likely.
Yeah, the original. They never show the original Law and Order that much.
Yeah, I only saw like one or two or something a long time ago.
Like a lot of people know that freaking Paul Servino was a cop in Law and Order.
Oh, yeah.
See?
I saw several seasons of SVU. I don't watch that anymore, but.
Oh, well, I meant the original, but.
No, that's all the only the only
Yeah.
Law and Order that I really watch much of.
So, I mean, these cops, you got, as we've always said, we love how Bell and Gregson are the smart, friendly cops, and then we get dumb jerks like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, solid police work in an interrogation. Did you know her? No. So, did you know her? No. But did you know her? Did someone else walk in? No!
Yeah.
They even call his deductions a trick. When I heard that, I'm like, oh, these guys aren't going to be nice.
Yeah, and it seems like Gregson should have said something, but it's like, what could he have said without giving it away and getting in trouble?
Well, it's like Sherlock said. Sherlock was glad Gregson didn't warn him because he would hate to have been shown favoritism.
Right. But yeah, I mean, Gregson would have gotten in some trouble for doing that too. So.
Right. So we see that apparently this woman went missing and her body was discovered recently. It was 3 years ago that she died, and they find a piece of evidence that ties her death to Holmes. It's a note saying "meet me," whatever. So that means it was likely he was one of the last people to say. And of course, according to these cops, you're guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, and I was worried at first because the way Holmes got so depressed right away, and it's like, oh man, they're not gonna have him like. It's like they can't do that, right? They're not gonna do that and say that he actually did it. No, they can't do that.
Yeah, you can't. They probably it's one of those things. We all knew he wasn't gonna be the killer. We just wanted to find out what it meant. Now it's always interesting to watch this show delve into addiction because it's one thing that happens is even the people who use and then are clean for the rest of their life, like that part of their life is always there, and to have that just right in your face. It was great watching the past come back, and Johnny played that so good this episode.
Oh my god! And through the whole thing too, because he through the second he has to go back to that time, he's just depressed. I mean, the whole episode you can see it on his face, and he just does it so well at just being really somber, you know. I mean, he hates that part of his life so much. It is like he says later, it's like a form of torture having to go back and relive some of that. And
like Watson, of course, says, I know, like, there's no, you didn't kill her. And he's like, I can't, because he honestly, as he said many times, he honestly can't remember if he did it or not.
Yeah. And he has a pretty good case for that being an actual possibility, at least a possibility. How he explains the way he was so paranoid and how he was just a completely different person. But I mean, we get to that later, more of that later.
Yes, and really, these detectives. Now, of course, we're favored towards Holmes, and we have the advantage of knowing he didn't really do it. But still, these cops, if this is how they handle murder cases, they're idiots.
They are.
Because for one thing, when we see Watson goes to talk to his sister, like, oh, the police told me about you, that means the police said, this man killed your sister.
Yeah.
Which they are not allowed to do.
Exactly. I thought that was so weird. I mean, she was just right. And the way she gets so mad at Watson as if she's in on it or something, you know? I mean, what did they say to her? Oh, and she's played by the captain on Dexter, remember?
Yeah, I recognize that. And also, after that, we get a really good character actor here. We have Michael Weston here.
Yes, love that guy.
He plays crazy So good.
Oh yes.
I remember him in an episode of Burn Notice. He played like a numbers guy that was a little schizophrenic. Yeah. He played that amazingly.
He did. He does all those. This particular type of character, he does perfectly every time. Yeah. He's a go-to guy for crazy.
Oh yeah, he's really good. And he's definitely a really good character actor. So as we see, although we cannot forget his award-winning performance as Enos in The Dukes of Hazzard. Anyway, so it turns out this guy is Holmes. I don't even know what you call him, because he was just someone who used to bunk with Holmes and like get him drugs and use with him.
Yeah, he wasn't exactly he wasn't like a regular dealer, really, you know.
No, oh god, it's just he played this. It's like too good.
Yeah,
you know. It was that kind of performance. It's just too good. He's just so pathetic.
So bad. And the point later on, well, we'll get to that, but yeah, the whole thing, and selling the illegal handbag, Prada with 2 D's.
Prada. Would you want a genuine Prada bag?
Prada.
Bag. That's what it is. It's a Prada bag.
And I love the way Sherlock evil smirks and sips after detailing how Oscar stole from him.
Yeah.
That was great.
Essentially saying, we're going to talk some more, or I'm going to remember that you stole my stuff.
Yeah.
So the guy, of course, says he doesn't remember anything, he doesn't know anything. But he even says you're not the only one who doesn't remember things from that time. Oh yeah, I love that moment. He's like, when he's saying that, you mean her was from the circus with the big, no, not her.
Yeah.
So apparently, even addicted to drugs and strung out, Sherlock still is a ladies' man.
Yeah.
He was dating circus folk.
Yeah, well, it just, once you're down in the dumps, then you gotta go for the circus people.
Yes.
There's gotta be something strange, so something for his mind to work on. Like, why do you have so much hair on your face? Or something.
So from there, Sherlock is talking to Watson, said both of them saying they haven't found anything, and Sherlock gets curb stomped essentially.
Yo.
And I have now I understand later, like he said, I took the guy's wallet, but I don't know. I didn't like how Sherlock didn't get even a shot in.
Actually, I thought it seemed really realistic. It seemed almost too realistic, because those noises he makes, and there were so many of them. I don't think that, like in real life, I think it would be more like how that happened, Well, and yeah, but the noises he made, I was just like, I was nearly crouching watching it.
But the thing is, we know Sherlock knows how to fight.
Yeah, but not against a bunch of people.
There was 2. You could at least he did get 1 punch in.
I mean, not against a bunch of people. But, well, I don't know. I mean, he got the wallet, and then I think it was real, because it was, first of all, he was feeling guilty. I mean, he wanted to get beat up.
Well, I know
he
that.
He offered the guy that wrench.
Yeah, but he didn't know right at the time that was the person connected to the case at that moment.
I think he assumed something. I mean, everyone assumed that it was something to do with it. It was kind of easy to make some sort of connection because of the order of things, how things went down.
Yeah, possibly.
And so, but I think I just think it was realistic. Even if he, well, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess you could look at it.
There's like two people
that he wanted it,
and he was feeling guilty. I mean, 2 things there. I don't know, but even though he knew how to fight, it's harder against 2 people. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just thought it seemed really realistic. I was like, ow.
And when he's getting checked out, we get a good view of one of his tattoos. And from what I've read, I don't know if it's every single one of them, but I'm pretty sure I've heard that the tattoos you see here are Johnny's real tattoos.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all of them are.
I like Sherlock self-diagnosing himself.
Yeah.
There could be internal bleeding. There's not. Now go away. There's a man with a light bulb stuck up his ass.
In an unfortunate place. And I love how he offers Watson's hands and the way she smirks at that.
The only thing that would have made it better is as the guy's being wheeled by, it lights up and Sherlock is like, I have an idea.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, sadly not the kind of it's a little bit lowbrow for this show.
Yeah, but that's funny. A funny thought, though. Okay.
Yes, it is. I'm gonna turn that into a meme.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please do that.
It's like something you'd see in an adult Addams family. Uncle Fester's gonna make the light bulb light up. No! So obviously we see he lifts the wall. It turns
This totally
out.
makes me think of that movie. I'm sorry.
What is this gonna make you? No, I gotta know what this makes you think of.
No, not Dumb and Dumber. One of his other. What's his name? Jim Carrey's. One of Jim Carrey's other movies. What was that movie? But it was a chicken, not a light bulb. Anyway.
No, a monkey. Are you thinking of Bruce Almighty when he made the monkey come out of the butt?
I thought it was a chicken.
No, it was a monkey.
What?
Wasn't a
No,
chicken?
no, not Bruce Almighty. No, but there was a chicken involved. I'm so sure it was a chicken. Where he has the 3 kids.
3 kids.
Kids.
That's me, myself, and Irene. I don't remember anything happened with a chicken.
Yes, chickens instead of light bulbs. A chicken.
I don't remember that part, but okay.
Yeah. Okay, anyway.
Yeah, so we find out that the man who beat him up was, in fact, the victim's brother.
Yes.
Now, he had a robbery charge that originally he said he was innocent, so Sherlock says, oh, maybe she came to me to solve that. And I find the scene here interesting when they're talking. Well, because it's, for one thing, the guy, even though the guy is over his anger, he's actually more reasonable than the sister.
Yeah.
Because he actually listens a little bit.
I think because he beat him up, you know.
Oh, that's an interesting way to look at it. That that at least gets him a listen.
Yeah.
I do like how Sherlock notices that if the guy really wanted to hurt Sherlock, he would have. But no, he just got a beat down, and he offers him his hand, like essentially says, "Break my hand, and then we'll talk." But the guy's not a bad person, and even he can't be 100% sure Sherlock did it, so he doesn't do it.
Yeah.
And even helps them, gives them evidence for the case.
Yeah, I think it was because Sherlock offered his hand up. Then he realizes, okay, so he's not like a horrible person. He's at least, yeah. I think he it's like I don't know, they share this kind of I don't know how to describe it. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Oh, I'm sure our listeners somewhere will know what the hell you're talking about. But anyway, no, I get what you're saying. There's like a connection, a moment between them, like an understanding almost.
Yes.
And so he tells them that she used to have problems at one of the places she was cleaning. Some guy was harassing her, and of course, Watson confronts Sherlock about letting the guy break his hand.
Right.
So it turns out it was a very high muckety buck, a city councilman that she was working for, but the guy is actually extremely, and they assume a cover-up, but the councilman is actually extremely helpful to them.
Yes, which could in itself be a sort of a clue that he calls himself a fan. He's super helpful.
Yes. And at first, knowing what we know now, it seems a little weird, but then it makes sense. He probably was letting him in to see what they knew.
Right. And I noticed, I mean, he mentioned that those cops told him not to talk to them. Well,
yeah, right. Yeah, I know, the cops doing a bang-up job with the murder investigation.
But at least they talked to him. I mean, that was one of the early suspects. And also, this is the first time we see anything to do with this Councilman Barkley.
Right.
And it's involving someone else entirely, his press secretary, right?
Yep. And at the moment, the evidence looks like it's hitting a dead end. So they try to look at they hit it. They hit a brick wall, so they don't know where to go next.
Oh, and I like Watson's line, "An Olympics in self-pity."
Yeah, that's in my favorite lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's because that's the only way when you're in that kind of downward or whatever, like that you need someone who will snap you back to reality.
Yeah, because he's not even seeing it. He's not even realizing that he's doing that. He's just super depressed.
Yes, and well, what works here is like he says to her, he's like, "It doesn't matter. I know you didn't kill this woman." He says. And he actually says, she says, "I know you." He's like, "Yes, you do. Better." He actually says, "Better than anyone." And he points to that picture and he says, "But you didn't know him."
Yeah, that was a good one.
And the way he has to talk about it, like it's a different like he talks about that person like it is a completely different entity, was great.
Yes, and actually, he has a really good argument. He makes a really good argument. But I like how Watson is so loyal. She can't believe that that's even possible, even back when he was someone else. There was still a little bit of him somewhere in there.
Right. It's just of course the lighting of the fire makes it even more dramatic, but Johnny he's got this stare, the way he looks, like it's like he hates the character. He hates that he even has to like he talk about like he's talking about like he would a suspect that he hates.
And he's just so morose, and the way he considers himself guilty, even if he just missed something that could have saved her, even if he didn't actually.
That was a bit of foreshadowing too.
Yeah.
He says, for argument's sake, let's say I didn't kill her. That means at the very least she needed my help, and I was so wigged out I couldn't.
Right. So he has reason to be morose, even if he didn't kill her, which and he did just completely forget about her, basically.
It's such an amazing thing to have. Imagine having to live through that, having to make such a crucial mistake, and then your past just comes right against you.
Yeah, and the way he was so much happier not remembering anything, and then to have it come back. That's what just sucked the life out of me.
That was very close. One of my favorite lines when he says, "The fact that I can barely remember that time has been a blessing up until now."
Yes.
So Marcus calls and says he has a list of names for the regulars at the soup kitchen, and Sherlock. I love how Marcus is like, "I figure we could split up the work." He's like, "Thank you, Detective. It won't be necessary."
Yeah. No. Bye-bye.
And it turns out, dear Oscar was a regular at the soup kitchen, so Sherlock goes over to say hello.
Yeah. Hello, and break down the door and push him against the wall.
Yes, Sherlock channels his inner Kool-Aid man here. And he's interrogating him about it. And how about when he says, "You're in withdrawal. Good, that means it'll be harder for you to lie."
Yeah.
And he says, like, "You lied to me, you do remember stuff back then." And Sherlock is confronting him, like, "So you killed her, you must have," and you're trying to pin him, and the guy says, "No, are you crazy?" He says, "You killed her. You're just as bad as I. Actually, you're worse, because I'm a junkie, but you're a murderer."
And the way Sherlock's face just...
Yeah.
Completely. But you can see how in the background Watson's face changes too, like she's surprised. Sherlock's face just droops down. Watson's is surprised, and then it changes a little. You can see that she's actually listening to everything that Oscar is saying, and she's realizing Oscar is just jealous.
You think she realized it that quick?
Yeah, because her face was changing. I mean, she seemed surprised, and then she was like, "Oh," because then Oscar goes on. I mean, he keeps going on about basically how jealous he is of Sherlock. That Sherlock got out of that life, and he's still in it. And
Right.
so, it makes sense that he would want Sherlock to be guilty and to be worse than he is.
So, of course, Holmes and Watson are talking more about the case.
Although at that point, I think that Watson thought that Oscar did it.
Right.
Yeah, because that's how she goes after it.
Well, a lot of us thought that, but before she goes after Oscar, Holmes gets arrested.
Yes.
Anyone else wishing we could have? Well, they probably didn't have it because there wasn't a lot of humor in this episode. But I always love when Sherlock's in jail.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's going to make friends with at least 3 inmates.
I don't know about this one, though. He's too depressed. It's
Right.
no fun. He's no fun right now.
That's what I'm saying. So, they come to pick him up.
I mean...
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Also, especially, he just talked about how he's feeling profound shame. And that all of this is torture.
I almost forgot about that
arrested.
line. There's that great... Oh, that was another great one where she says, you've had loss, you've had, things you regret, but you've never had anything... And it was really a big compliment to her when you think about it. He said, you've never had anything that caused you great shame.
Yeah.
So, of course, they find out that a witness says they saw Holmes with the victim. And
a quote-unquote new witness.
Yeah, and then...
That's always kind of... That's always kind of smell... doesn't really pass the smell test right there if it's a brand new witness after they already...
3 years after it happened. I love how the cops are like, oh, good, a witness!
Yeah, the dumb cops, of course.
Yeah. So, of course, Watson goes to confront Oscar. I was kind of hoping she was going to get the stick out.
Yeah. That would have been awesome. I kind of like a lady beating a guy over the head with her purse.
Right.
Except, I don't know why it made me think of that. He seems like a guy who should be hit over the head with one of his handbags.
Yes, indeed. So, now what's interesting here is, this is where we get a bit of a twist, because Holmes has already said he doesn't believe that Oscar did it. Like, he said, well, she's like, what do you mean he's telling the truth? Well, no, I don't know if it means I did, but he believes I did, so that must mean something.
Yeah.
So, and Oscar, which is an interesting moment, he's actually worried and surprised that Holmes got arrested, because he didn't want Holmes to get arrested.
Right, and this is where you realize even more that he was just yelling at him and upset because he was so jealous.
Right. And so he tells Watson a little bit more what happened, and it's amazing how, just like any junkie, you gotta fight through just a swamp of lies. It's like it's going through mud, and he finally gets some truth out of it. Brings him to a location. Says well, I think he was saying he was keeping the shirts as insurance. Nice guy. But that when he thought, I like it, he thought Holmes killed somebody, so he ran and stole his stuff.
Yeah.
So Watson brings the clothes to Sherlock, and because she noticed right away that the sizes were wrong, and so Holmes notices something. And he's like, I believe I can narrow the search. And we're back at the city councilor's office.
Yes. Well, he just sees it right away. It's like, oh, okay, I know that shirt.
And after talking, it turns out that the blood in the shirt is from another crime, and that the councilman stabbed a woman he was having an affair with, and the maid found out, so he killed her.
Yeah. Well, also... He went back to his office to change out of the bloody clothes, and it was late, and she saw him, and then he threw them away, went back to get them, saw they were gone, so that's how he knew to kill her.
Right.
Because he knew that she had been there, and she probably, found them.
And so he can now after they lean, like they said, they have DNA evidence. We have this evidence. So eventually, he confesses to it, and we get that scene at the brownstone, which I like a lot, where Holmes has to say like, "Oh, good," he didn't kill, but this woman came in for help, and she was killed right after seeing him. But because he was so wigged out on drugs, he forgot. So the killer wasn't brought to justice. Yeah,
Yeah.
and of course it's weird. It's like a happy ending, but it's a happy ending with guilt.
Well, it's not exactly a happy ending.
Well, that's what I
because
mean.
Maria didn't have to die at all.
Exactly.
You know?
That's what I mean.
So it's a sad ending, really. I mean, that's the worst too, that he didn't even try to help her because he actually forgot about this poor woman. That's like just gotta be the worst for him, that he actually just forgot about a client.
Although it wasn't that smart of her when a guy you think murdered somebody is like, "Hey, I can explain. Come meet me."
Yeah, that wasn't too good.
I mean, I know he says I can get your brother off, but still.
Yeah.
But still, yeah. Holmes feels such shame and guilt toward it.
Well, if he was in his right mind, she would not.
She would be alive, most likely.
Dead.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So basically, it was one of his worst fears, one of his two worst fears. Either he killed her himself, and then his second worst fear, that's the one that was true.
Yes. So after that wraps, Holmes goes to see Oscar, and he's setting up shop with his bags. And I like this because Holmes said, like, pretty much tells him he hates his guts, but that he enabled him and like they enabled each other. Like that Holmes was just as bad for him as Oscar was for Sherlock.
He reached a low point because of him, but he probably helped Oscar reach a low point as well, and Oscar never came out of it. So, but Oscar just can't let go of that. He still holds on to that jealousy, and he's still got that grudge. And instead of kind of trying to rise up to Sherlock's position, he just wants to pull Sherlock down with him. Right. So he's just a jerk.
So Holmes offers to help him get rehab, which the guy, of course, refuses, and he's like, "I hope I never see you again unless it's to make amends." And the other guy, and Oscar says, "I'll see you again when you come on the way back down."
Right. So he's just wanting to pull Sherlock down to his level instead of rising up to Sherlock's.
So that's the episode. Now, before we get into anything else, we actually have an email. Ooh. That's right, Kristen. People are actually listening to us.
Yay!
Ooh. This one is from Mr. Wally Conger, who says, just a little FYI for us, in original Doyle stories that Holmes actually kept bees when he was retired on Sussex Downs. Now, I've looked up history. This probably the reason I didn't know this is because I prefer the earlier Holmes works than when he was retired.
Right.
I think a lot of people prefer the core books, because I think at that point even Doyle didn't want to write Holmes anymore. Yeah. Well, as we know, he killed Holmes off.
Yeah.
And he never intended to bring Holmes back. He's like, but everyone they want him back so bad. He's like, he begrudgingly brought Holmes back.
Yeah.
It's probably the paycheck. Now, okay, so before we get to the end, the part you all been waiting for, the part where I don't talk for at least a good 5-10 minutes, it is time for Kristen's Clue Cap.
So the crime this week was the murder of Maria Gutierrez, and then later another old murder. The first clue, there weren't many clues at all, but the first clue was the handwritten note about meeting Maria, and that was in Sherlock's handwriting. And then the fact that she volunteered in a soup kitchen, okay, and then there had been a suspect early on who had an alibi, but he was Councilman Barclay's press secretary, which so far is the only connection to Barclay. Plus, you may also consider Barclay's being a big fan of Sherlock as some sort of clue as well. And then Oscar, Sherlock's dealer, sort of dealer, his buddy in doing drugs, was on the list of regulars at the soup kitchen where Maria volunteered. Okay, but then this leads to Oscar handing over the bloody shirt he had hidden, and Sherlock recognizes it immediately as the one Barclay wore back then in 2011. It's the wrong size and the wrong blood. And so through all of this, we find that Barclay committed a whole other crime. And then Maria had worked there that night and must have seen him. And then this leads to his confession. And there were a few other clues that kind of led in a different direction, but they weren't really part of solving the crime. And there weren't that many clues. It was more about Sherlock being arrested and all of that. Okay, so that's it for the clue cap.
Well, that was lovely. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Because of course I listen to it every time.
Oh yes, yeah, right. We know.
Yeah. So, what are your final thoughts on the episode?
I really enjoyed it for all the. Whenever they do character work with Sherlock in particular, I like the way they work on the other characters, but Sherlock is always the best, and there was a lot of evolving character here with Sherlock, and I loved it, and he just acted it, Johnny Lee Miller acted this so well, loved it.
The fact that he hasn't got an Emmy for this show is ridiculous.
I know. God,
was he even nominated?
I don't think so.
It's
ridiculous.
They probably
perfect.
They probably thought he was married to Angelina Jolie. That's a award enough. Which I would agree, but still. So yes, for me, I agree. Like, this was very much a character. Like, it wasn't the most intricate case, but the character development was phenomenal. Johnny's acting just blew the show away. Good. He had great characters, really good succession. Like how he delved. We saw Sherlock have to confront his past. So I think the episode even got good rewatch value.
Yeah, it does. All the little nuances.
So we would like to remind our fans, if you would like to get in touch with us, please email us. You can email Southgate Media, but you can also get us personally at BakerStreetPodcast@gmail.com, Baker Street Podcast on Facebook, and of course Baker Street Pod on Twitter. We look forward to hearing from you. So, do you have any other little nuggets you'd like to share with us, Kristen?
No, I think that's it for me.
Alrighty, it's time for us to part because the game is afoot.